All right, guys, we're back. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're talking once again about Terence Bud Crawford. Now, I can already hear it. Some of you guys are saying this guy is a Terence Bud Crawford fanboy. He is a Bud buddy. I think that's what they're saying out there about Terence Crawford fans. He's a Bud buddy. But honestly, guys, that's far from the truth. I had never really been a huge fan of Terence Bud Crawford until I studied tape on him leading up to the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Some of you guys know I was a big Errol Spence Jr. fan. I still am a fan of Errol Spence Jr. But even back in the day before I got on YouTube, you know, when people were talking about, you know, Terence Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr., in my mind, I thought that Errol Spence Jr. would win that fight back in the day. But when that fight was coming to fruition, and I went back and I studied Terence Bud Crawford. I looked at his resume. I looked at a lot of his fights that I hadn't looked at before. And I saw something. I saw something in him. And that's why on my prediction video, I picked Bud to stop Errol Spence Jr. Because I saw a guy that was a complete fighter. Something rare. Something that we don't see in today's fighters. He was a throwback fighter. I saw a guy that was not only technically sound, a guy that had a lot of power, a guy that's a thinker in the ring, and a guy that was a gym rat. You know, he lived the fighter lifestyle. And those aspects, those four aspects, played a big role in me picking him over Errol Spence Jr. So it's not that I'm just this huge Bud fanboy. It's just that I admire his drive. I admire what he is as a fighter, what the things that he's done, the things that, you know, he's capable of. He should be boxing goals, in my opinion. I think a lot of fighters should look at Terence Bud Crawford and say, hey, this is what I want to model myself after. He's a great fighter. And it always pains me because here in America, we don't give Terence Bud Crawford his props. We don't give him his flowers. We try everything to dump on him. He is greatness right here in our own country, and we try to tear him down. And I just don't get it. You know, that's why I talk a lot about him, because he is the epitome. He's the epitome of boxing. And I want to talk about Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley gave his opinion on Terence Bud Crawford. Here's the thing about Tim Bradley. I respect Tim Bradley. I know some of you guys don't like Tim Bradley, but I do respect Tim Bradley because the thing about Tim Bradley is he speaks his mind. You know, regardless, he doesn't really care what people think. He's kind of like Paulie Malignaggi. He's the same way. Those guys are going to speak their minds. I like it when they speak their minds in the sport of boxing. But I don't always agree with them. But I like people who actually tell the truth. So let me play this here. Tim Bradley, he says that Terence Bud Crawford is basically ducking Jerron Boots in this, which I disagree. But let me play this small clip and we're going to talk about it for a second. Let me play it.
We want Benavidez and we want Canelo Alvarez. We want Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez. Crawford was at 147 at one point. Now he's at 54. However, why can't we get a Crawford and Boots Ennis? You know, when Crawford was undisputed champion, he could have fought against Boots Ennis then. You know, to me, it seems to me that Crawford is being just like Spence was to him. You know, when Crawford moved up to 147, Spence said, get a belt. Crawford got a belt. He's like, okay, what's this use now? You know, what you need me to do? Well, you ain't fought anybody. You're hearing the same excuses coming from the Crawford team. You know, the way he did it with Spence, the same thing Spence did to him. At the end of the day, is he ready for a Crawford? Everything we want is.
All right, so you guys heard some of that. That was Tim Bradley speaking his mind on Terence Bud Crawford, that, you know, he thinks he's ducking Boots, and I hear a lot of you guys out there saying that as well, and I totally disagree with that. I told you guys in another video that fight was offered to him. That fight was offered to him before David Avanesian, and Boots and his team turned that fight down. And if you think about it, he was looking at Boots like a tune-up for the Errol Spence Jr. fight, but, you know, the fight never happened. He wound up fighting David Abanesian. So I totally disagree with that. And I think the thing with Terence Crawford is, you know, he's older and he's looking to solidify his legacy. And fighting Boots doesn't do that for him right now. He stopped everybody else at 147. He was moving on to bigger and better things. I've never seen Terence Crawford duck anyone. I've never seen him duck anyone, and I don't see that here. How are you ducking a guy that you offered to fight to before? You're not. But his life should not revolve around giving Boots an opportunity. His life should revolve around him creating his own legacy. He's fighting Israel Madrimov August the 3rd to capture a title at 154. Boots fights at 147. Boots should be thinking about, you know, solidifying his own legacy, making his own lane. But like I said, let's just say that fight happens. If Turki Al-Sheikh can make it happen, Boots come up to 154, they make it worth Terence Crawford's while, I'm sure he'll take the fight and Boots will lose. Boots will lose and he'll have an L on his record. And a lot of you guys who's on his bandwagon, you're going to do exactly what I said in the last video. You're going to jump right off of it. Because you did the same thing with Errol Spence Jr. You jumped right off of that bandwagon. You jumped right into the Boots bandwagon because you were salty. You were salty that Terence Crawford was able to dismantle Errol Spence in such an easy fashion. Now let's face it, Boots, he's a very athletic fighter, very gifted, but he's just not on that level yet. I'd like to see him fight somebody that's on his level first. You know, I know people say, well, you know, give him a chance. I've heard people say that, but you're talking about the top dog. You're talking about the top dog. Fight some of those guys in your own weight class. Fight some of those guys in your own weight class that have titles. Before you're thinking about fighting Terence Crawford, who is the pound for pound king of boxing, you're going to take an L. I don't want to see him take an L. I know some of you people, you know, you're going to say, well, it's boxing, people take L's. You know, it was different back in the day. You know, one L on your record today, you guys know what it can do for you, to you today. You know, you're old news. And I don't want Boots to be old news. I think Boots has a bright future. I think he still needs to develop. And there's other fighters that's closer on his level that he can build up his legacy with, you know, until he gets better. But if Terence Crawford decides to fight Boots, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. Right now, I just think that Terence Crawford is trying to do something big for his career. You know, he wants Canelo Alvarez. He may get that fight. He may get a chance to fight Canelo Alvarez for Undisputed. And you can't do anything but admire that. You can't do anything but admire that. Him really fighting Boots right now, it's almost like going backwards because Boots has nothing to offer him. Boots has nothing to offer him. What, he's going to get back his IBF belt that he was stripped of, that he already won from Errol Spence Jr.? There's nothing there. There's nothing there for him. But fighting Madrimov, possibly fighting the winner of Errol Spence Jr. Versus Sebastian Fundora, yeah, there's something there for him. You know, you have the IBF title, you have the WBO title, and you have the WBC title. Those are things that, you know, he's looking for titles. Fighting Boots, he's not going to get a title. He's not going to become a 4-division champion. He's not going to become undisputed in 3 weight classes. And I don't understand why people don't see that. I don't think this is anything like David Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez's situation. Canelo Alvarez has all the gold and he's staying at 168, but he won't give an opportunity to the guy who is the mandatory challenger. If he doesn't want to give him the opportunity, then drop the WBC belt. Crawford left 147 to go to 154. If Boots wants to fight Crawford, then he needs to go up to 154 and prove himself. It's just as simple as that. And I just don't understand why people don't get it. But Crawford is the Brightburn of boxing. He's the Brightburn of boxing. And that's my rant, guys. That's what I think about that. I think Timothy Bradley is wrong. I respect Tim Bradley, but I think he's absolutely wrong on that. He's comparing apples to oranges, in my opinion. But anyway, that is my thoughts. You guys let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. It's the CMB. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.